Welcome back everyone. So yesterday we talked about how to get this background image, if you remember, if you zoom out, to be centered and always be big. And one of the things we discussed was that there's some ways that you can do that, and I've reverted back to it not doing that. The reason that we've done that is to show you how we can put all these bits and pieces into a box, and I figured we could jump straight into this code, but I wanted to demonstrate it first. So I'm just going to call this page boxes, and let's save it as boxes. We'll delete this page later. But what that means is that I'll be able to demonstrate what it is that I'm trying to show you. So on this blank page we'll create some boxes, and we'll call these boxes, let's be creative, red and blue, right? So there's a red box, and then there's going to be another one here which we're going to call blue. If I can type, bear with me. Oh dear. Okay. So these two boxes, they exist, but they're not visible. They're in the code. That's one box, that's another box. You can see that they do exist, but what we don't see is the size of these, right? So we don't actually know where these boxes are, and I'll just get rid of all the space, where these boxes are, what they do, etc. So I'm just going to add a style tag so I can add some CSS here. And what we'll do is, remember, we used a hash and then red, and then inside there we can have background color set to red. Then we'll do the same for blue, and inside that we'll do background color is blue. Yeah. So now we can save that, refresh, and go, ooh, there are our boxes. Still can't see them. And that's because these guys don't have a size, they don't have any content, so they collapse, they just fold up and disappear into thin space. So what we'll do instead is we'll add a width, that's maybe 200 pixels, and a height, that's 200 pixels, and then we'll do the same here, and the height as well. Once that's in place, now you can finally see them. And again, you could make the blue box smaller, so 100 by 100, and it'll be smaller. You could make these colors a little bit less horrible. Actually, let's do it this way. So we can just do color picker, and I still want a reddish color, but maybe I don't. Maybe I don't want a reddish color. Maybe I want an orange. No, I want a reddish color. So we'll do that, and then here again delete that, put the colon in, pick the color picker, and I still want a blue, but I probably want a lighter blue, like something like that. We'll see how they work together. And make sure you've got that semicolon after these, otherwise this color will stop being purple, it'll be white, and it'll freak out, it will not work. So put those semicolons in, refresh. Okay, so they're a little bit more subdued. The background's horrible and white, which is not what I want. So we're just going to do that and make it black. Okay, so what we want to do is move these guys around, and as concepts go, the boxes don't go to the edge because the body here has a margin. The body has a margin, I think something like 8 pixels. That's the default, I think. Right? That's the default margin. But if I was to set it to 0, then it'll go up against the edge. Fantastic, right? The next thing that we want to do is we want to put these red and blue boxes into a container box. So what I'll do is I'll make a div id equals container, and then close that div. Now these boxes are inside of a container. Now I can tell the container to do something. So the container again will not exist until I give it some kind of form. So container, and the container might have a width of 400 pixels, and it might have a background color of, this is just going to get ugly, and we'll leave the height. I'll show you what happens with the height. So when you refresh that, these boxes are now inside of this bigger box or container, and the container is behind these boxes, if you will, because anything that lives inside of a container sits on top in a visual way, and that's kind of what we've got here. So if I was to go in and delete the red box, the container also gets smaller, so it kind of zooms back up to the size of the blue one because we didn't set a height. And that's kind of how these boxes work. As far as centering this, which is what we're trying to get to, if I go in here and I tell the container that it has some margins which are automatic, then I can go back in here and have the whole container center, which is really cool because if I go and I resize the box, the browser, the box recenters as well with that. And this is where you get into the powerful effect where you have a 960 pixel width and you refresh this, then as someone's screen size is bigger, they get some space on the left and the right, which is the black space. But if someone's browser is smaller, it still has the look of the website. They just have to scroll sideways if they've got a really small, tiny screen. And that allows you as a designer to be a little bit more consistent with how people see your page, as opposed to trying to resize it and make it shift around all the time. So the whole concept that we're talking about today and just kind of experimenting with is that a div, although we have some cool things with the elephant one, a div here and these kind of bits and bobs, they all need to be put into a container, and then once they're contained we can center this, and therefore if we were to zoom out, then that whole container would center, and that means that we would have some colors on the sides, we would have this image repeat, and these little bits and pieces would be, I don't want to say correctly, but they would go back into where we assigned them. But it is a little bit fiddly, and it has some little bits and pieces like that of setting up to do. So I'd definitely recommend that you just practice with the boxes example. Make sure the boxes work for you before you do anything more. And once that's, once you've got that going, then what we might do tomorrow is apply what we've learned here and actually put it into the elephant page and rearrange some of these elements so that we can get this effect of having it centered. So yeah, have a go at it. Let me know in the comments if you've got questions around this. This is a big kind of idea. And before you ask, yes, you can then have boxes inside of the boxes and then boxes inside of boxes. But let's not do that. For the moment, just try and keep it simple to having these two boxes inside of a container. But do practice it, because if you get this working, you'll understand the concept a lot more, and then you'll be able to use that when you're actually assembling your page, because one of the first things they'll ask you to do is get all of your boxes lined up before you start putting content in there, mostly just to save yourself time later on. And the reason I say save time is because you'll see what we'll have to go through when we try and fix this one up. So that's about it. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Leave some comments if you have them. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks.